This is a decent dock with 3 USB 3.0 ports, Gigabit Ethernet, 4K capable HDMI, with a compatible computer, 1 free Thunderbolt port, and analog audio inputs and outputs. It measures up well with other competing docks out there. It is reasonably priced, as docks go, and has the added value of an included cable. Performance is good and on par with other docks out there. Gigabit Ethernet speeds are good and the HDMI performed as expected. Audio sounds fine but not as good as the Mac's internal headphone port. Like other docks, it is also a bit hindered by the components used to drive its USB interface. It's not slow by any stretch, but it's not as fast as it could be and will be slower than the Mac's internal USB controller. It'll max out at around 2.5 gigabits per second and all 3 ports are on the same controller, meaning that heavy usage on one port will slow the other 2 down. This is not a huge issue for most users as the speed differences for standard file transfer tasks will not be noticeable. But if you are buying this in the hopes of getting the full USB 3.0 throughput out of the dock, you will be disappointed. To be fair, no dock on the market even comes close to utilizing what Thunderbolt can offer, but it's about time somebody makes a dock that does. That said, this is a good dock for what most people will use it for. It's smaller than the first generation docks I've used and requires no installation steps other than plugging it in. I also like that it includes the cable. Review number 2. The Thunderbolt 2 dock is made of brushed aluminum and black plastic and matches the slick look of the MacBook Pro computers. It comes with its power supply, 100-240V world capable, and a 1-foot-long Thunderbolt cable. The front features a USB 3.0 connector as well as headphone and microphone 3.5mm mini jacks. On the back, power input, HDMI, 2 Thunderbolt 2 ports, 2 USB 3.0 ports and a Gigabit Ethernet socket. If you take your MacBook Pro on the road, this clever little box makes it so that you only need to connect the Thunderbolt cable and the MagSafe power cord when you get home. Your monitor, spare/backup drives, peripherals, wired network, all connect to the dock. The dock also offers a wonderful side benefit to owners of pre-Haswell MacBook Pros, 2011 models, which were equipped with a Thunderbolt port but only slow USB 2.0 ports. The USB 3.0 ports on the Thunderbolt 2 dock are fully functional on these models as well. I tried this on my MacBook Pro 15 early 2011 model, and connected a SSD drive and a USB 3.0 enclosure directly to one of the USB ports on the MacBook. Blackmagic speed test reported a sad 30 MB/s write, 35 MB/s read, rounded up. Connecting the same drive to one of the Thunderbolt 2 dock's USB 3.0 ports, however, yielded an impressive 270 MB/s write and 345 MB/s reads, almost 10 times the speed. The HDMI port is also capable of driving up to 4K resolution, only at 24 FPS. Faster frame rates require using DisplayPort or Thunderbolt 2 monitor in a recent model Mac. While this clever little box is a perfect docking companion to a new MacBook Pro or MacBook Air, letting you connect and disconnect network, display, and USB 3.0 peripherals all at once with a single cord, it's worth mentioning that it will give a new lease on life on earlier model MacBook Pro and MacBook Air, 2011 models, which were equipped with Thunderbolt but only slow USB 2.0 ports. Very highly recommended. Review number 3. Got this as an upgrade to a first-generation Thunderbolt iMac that's starting to show its age, particularly in the connectivity area. It has slow USB ports, so my external drives were sometimes painfully slow. And I've often wanted a second network port. My network has 2 subnets. The Elgato dock solves both those problems beautifully. Plus the HDMI output lets me hook up my big TV as a second screen. Setup was super easy. You basically just plug it in. The dock seems well made and complements the look of the Mac. I love that the main connectors are on the rear panel. I can tuck it under the screen of the iMac to hide the cable clutter. The 4th USB 3 jack on the front panel is handy for plugging in thumb drives. I did some quick speed tests with 3 different USB 3 drives and was very pleased to see sustained read and write speeds of around 175 MB/s, copying to and from the internal SSD of the iMac. This is dramatically faster than the built-in USB ports, as I expected, and makes it almost seem like a new computer. It's great. Review number 4. I have a mid-2012 MacBook Pro, and when docked at home I currently run a DVI monitor via the Thunderbolt port via an adapter. I bought the Elgato dock intending to use this in a second monitor via the HDMI output. I just learned the hard way it will not work for this, so I'm sending it back. Also, I found the picture quality of the HDMI output to be very poor. As another reviewer said, you can only connect 2 monitors to the dock if one of them is an Apple Thunderbolt monitor, and the other is HDMI. But what it did not make clear is that, if you are using one of the Mac's built-in Thunderbolt with a DisplayPort monitor, then you can't plug an HDMI monitor in through the dock. If you are using DisplayPort in any way, shape or form, you can't run a second monitor through this dock. Review number 5. This does not support dual external monitors with a MacBook Air. The MacBook's sole Thunderbolt port is used by the dock. The dock has an additional Thunderbolt port and an HDMI port. You would think that you could connect 2 external monitors, one to Thunderbolt and one to HDMI, but no, the MacBook will only display to the Thunderbolt monitor due to the way the dock is designed. If you want to connect 2 monitors, you need to buy 2 docks and chain them together. This is a decent dock with 3 USB 3.0 ports, Gigabit Ethernet, 4K capable HDMI, with a compatible computer, 1 free Thunderbolt port, and analog audio inputs and outputs. It measures up well with other competing docks out there. It is reasonably priced, as docks go, and has the added value of an included cable. Performance is good and on par with other docks out there. Gigabit Ethernet speeds are good and the HDMI performed as expected. Audio sounds fine but not as good as the Mac's internal headphone port. Like other docks, it is also a bit hindered by the component